Hello YouTube, this is Huntsman9, and today I'll be talking about why Duragon C. Mikado should be Kingdom Hearts 4 boss, a secret boss at that. Square Enix, if you're listening, I'd literally have to talk about this because this boss is so underrated. And people genuinely think that Duragon's character, that he's actually like too simple or one-dimensional. Oh no, he's a whole lot more than that when it comes to his character, and I'm going to be breaking some things down that people probably haven't even pointed out or even thought about when it comes to Duragon. And if you are watching this, Square Enix, I really hope you make a remaster for the Bouncer video game on the PS5. We always get these remasters for Final Fantasy VII and all these other RPGs and things like that, but this is like a hidden gem. This is a game that deserves to be on the PS5, and it was one of your very first games for the PS2. And I don't fans have been wanting this game, on the PlayStation Store. I really don't understand why it's not on there. It's literally a classic. You people really don't understand how underrated this game really is, but I'll get into that a whole lot later. Right now, I'm going to continue to talk about why Duragon should be a secret boss in Kingdom Hearts 4. So in the Kingdom Hearts lore, what's Kingdom Hearts mainly about? It's about a person's heart, basically emotions, the things that people go through, and an aspect of what certain people go through, or I should say in this case for characters in the Kingdom Hearts universe, where basically one's negative emotions leads them to become heartless. So characters like similar to Sephiroth, or for instance, Beast from Beauty and the Beast, how he got turned into a heartless. So I understand that. I know people will probably think to themselves like, how in the world would a character like Duragon even be, a match for Sora? I'm saying, Duragon would be fodder, right? Not really. See, and that's what I'm gonna get into. The dangerous thing about Duragon is that he knows Kenpo, right? Even though he's human, even as a human, this guy's a threat. And you've seen the scene right here. Duragon is almost similar to like Sephiroth when it comes to one-shot, except Duragon is the king of one-shotting his opponents. And you know what I'm saying? You've seen what Sephiroth has done when you're playing him again on Kingdom Hearts 2, right? As a secret boss, and he just bum rushes you, right? That's similar to what Duragon does, except he has a move called Sonic Elbow, and he'll go in when he fights you. And the first thing he's gonna do is send an elbow right into, like he's gonna charge an elbow right into your collarbone, right? So, like I said about him being dangerous, not just as a human level-like character, but also knowing martial arts like Kenpo. And by the way, Duragon C. Mikado, he's a master at Kenpo. So he's a master in martial arts, right? So you've seen how overpowered a character like Sephiroth became when he became a Heartless, and we've seen how overpowered other characters have become when they become a Heartless. So imagine what would happen if a character like Duragon became a Heartless. You get what I'm saying? He would be very, how should I put it? Destructive. Even faster than what he normally is. And you know what I'm saying, when it comes to, even though he doesn't use a Keyblade, right? The one thing that you do see in Kingdom Hearts like 2, who are you fighting when it comes to a secret boss in like the Olympus Coliseum? You're fighting against Tifa. Now you've seen how crazy she can get, right? But imagine someone like Duragon, who's a villain, who's not gonna hold back on you, right? And by the way, Duragon does have a weapon as well. Sora's not going to be the only one who has a weapon in this fight, right? What he uses is a chain, right? And he uses it almost like a spear at the end of the chain. So it's almost similar to like a harpoon the harpoon weapon that Scorpion uses. And when he uses this chain that Duragon has, he can throw it from a pretty far distance. I'd say at least mid-range, if anything, right? But going back to what happened while I was talking about how, Duragon one-shotting his master, and he even one-shotted Siam Barzard with his elbow technique, right? As a human, this character, not just being a martial arts master, but he also surpassed his own master. And I'm going to say this, in video games, Duragon is literally one of the hardest bosses to fight. And don't tell me he's an easy boss, because if you have a PS2 or you have an emulator for playing against Duragon, try playing against him without cheesing. Try playing him without using teammates to gang up on him, right? Try actually doing combos on him. Because that'll show you exactly where his skill is and how good of a boss he is. He's not easy like a lot of other bosses. Trust me, I'll tell you that much. And it takes like 3 characters just to take this guy down. Now, what I'm going to be explaining is also what's going on in this scene right here with Duragon. See Mikado? Is that this character that he's fighting against, he's an old man, right? Don't go just thinking that, that's an easy fight, he beat an old man. No, this is Duragon's master, right? And when you play against Wong, you can see that, he's not hindered by, old age. Duragon just surpassed him. So you saw how he just did that one shot, right? And this move right here in particular, you know how normally you get knocked down when you're playing a Sora from playing, a boss or a Heartless or whatever it is? When you fight, even in Duragon's fight, when it comes to the bouncer, right? When you're playing, even in game, live, this is a move that Duragon uses on you. So, if in Kingdom Hearts 4, if Duragon was or is in the Kingdom Hearts 4, right? The thing he's gonna do, if you're on the ground, he's gonna axe kick you while you're on the ground. He's gonna do it right to your gut or, on your spine. So this is something just telling you more about this character in combat. You're probably sitting up there trying to, button mash your way to try and get up, like, oh, get up, get up. Yeah, this character's not going to let you do that. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. This is another reason why I say this character will be such a fun boss and a good boss at that. And matter of fact, you see this scene right here, right? Even though Duragon's a human, this character is extremely smart. He created these machines. You've seen the androids in Dragon Ball Z, right? Like Android 17 and 18. These characters are almost like that, right? And Duragon's sister, which is that character that's on the ground, her name's Dominique. That's Duragon's, not really sister, but a replica of her dead sister. He even built her from the ground up. That should tell you already not just how smart, but how crazy this character is. So you can imagine, right? Maybe if you're playing against this boss, maybe he has this boss right here to gang up on you. Like his name is called PD4, right? But it's not like he actually needs these characters to gang up on you, right? It'd just be something for fun, right? For a boss fight. Yeah, but look at this. he mass produced an army of these androids, basically, right? And this is one of the things I'm talking about of how underrated this character is. He's not Sephiroth, right? He's not Goku, he's not Vegeta, but yet he's created these like android like machines. He's even created a machine that, you know, is able to wipe out basically, I want to say, probably almost a city if he really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? He's destroyed a hospital which had a pretty good radius for an explosion, right? And it's just like this character's human, right? And he's doing all this stuff, and he has all this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That should already tell you, you know, what you need to know about this character. And again, you know, and maybe if I haven't said this, but Duragon Simicado is a very underrated villain, especially a very underrated boss character. Now, I need to explain something about this scene because this is important. I've seen people on YouTube talk about Duragon saying that, oh, you know, Duragon is just a villain just to be the villain for the sake of being a villain. And no, like I said, how I'm going to be talking about this character and going in depth with his character. That he's not so simple as you think he is, right? So one of the things probably why people say that he's being a villain just for the sake of being a villain. In this scene right here, this character named Chaldea Orchid, no, she dies, basically. Who killed her? Duragon, right? Now you would think at first glance, oh, you know what I'm saying? Oh, he just killed this character Chaldea just because, you know, he's the villain. You know what I'm saying? He's the boss, the main boss character. No, there was a reason why he killed her off. And the main reason why he killed Chaldea, it's not just the fact that, you know, she's showing like sympathy, and you know how Duragon basically really doesn't care about sympathy. It's more to it than that. It's like the fact that, you know, as a villain, you know what I'm saying, Chaldea is supposed to be on his side, right? Yet she's over here siding with basically from Duragon's perspective, you know, his enemy, which is Sion and his group, right? And she's over there giving, you know, Sion and his gang, you know, pity and stuff like that. And it's just like even pity towards, you know, Duragon, and Duragon just is seeing this as a weakness, you know, basically it's like, hey, you know, you're not doing your job, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. What are you doing? You're supposed to be on my side, right? It's kind of like that type of thing. So I need to show this clip one more time. So alright, you see how far Duragon's chain can go? I didn't mean to show this death scene again, but just to show you like what I mean about how deadly Duragon is and just how far his range is, right? So obviously, when I said about how Duragon's not really one-dimensional like you think he is, this guy is trying to go about his own business, right? You know what I'm saying, as a villain, trying to get revenge against the hospital that, you know, didn't want to basically save his sister when they could have saved her, right? Basically turning like a blind eye. So whatever, you know, Duragon's doing here with the configurations for, you know, and things like coordinates, so on and so forth, right? You know, as a villain, you're just thinking that, you know, as a villain, he's gonna want to fight, you know, Sion Barzad's team or Sion and his friends, right? No, this character, like I said, he's just going on about his business, and he right here he's clearly stating how annoying Sion and his team is. That Basically, he didn't even want to fight Sion and his team in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like the only reason why he's really fighting them is because they're getting in his way and being annoying, right? Duragon is also similar to Virgil from the DMC series. Basically, what I mean by that is if you get in his way, he's going to do something drastic. That's the best way to put it. And now I'm going to play this scene just for a little bit.
いいだろう。圧倒的な力の差というものを教えてやろう。君たちは3人でかかってきたまえ。さらにハンデをつけようか。
I'm gonna come back to this scene and I mean, not come back to it, but like talk about it later on. I really need to wrap this up, so I'm going to be talking about this right here. So not this fight, but the very first fight that you're fighting Duragon. I need to say this because he, as a boss, right? He's literally fighting you with one hand, right? One hand tied behind his back. It's kind of like when it comes to boss characters that you play in video games, it's like, what characters do you see even do this? This is why this character, Duragon, is so underrated. And I'm pretty sure this character was doing the one-hand stuff even before Rock Lee. I mean, I could do some research on it, but given how old this game is, I'm pretty sure it was before Rock Lee, more than likely. And then it's just not only that when it comes to, Duragon's martial arts. So basically, each time you fight Duragon, he unravels a part of himself, kind of like how he'll stop using one hand, or it's almost like he has stages, almost like transformations like Goku or Frieza, or how Dragon Ball Z characters would take off their clothing and they'd get more powerful. It's kind of like that for Duragon. This character is almost like the embodiment of Black Force energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what he's doing, right? And this isn't just as far as he'll go. He'll even go as far as taking off, removing like his overalls, and you know what I'm saying, having like basically being having no shirt, right? And in real life, right, when you see a character, or you see a person take off their shirt, you know what I'm saying, you know it's gonna go down. You know that you've already got a feeling that, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They know how to fight, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's similar to, like characters like Killmonger. Like I said, Black Force energy. Could you imagine this character, like while you're fighting him, and like for his health bars that are going down, and he just like for each certain amount of health bars, he just removes his clothing. And then it's just like each part of him, like, each, for the life parts that you already took down, you were fighting a version of Duragon that's stronger than the next, right? And if you notice that purple-like energy, that's something that would be an interesting...
Good. I never expected anyone to push me so far. Pardon my past discourtesies. I will forget the past. I no longer care about the indignation I have suffered. I should thank you for opening my eyes to this new indulgence.
So what this also shows about Duragon is that he's never had a real challenge before, right? And that Sion and his team are the only ones, who've gotten him, this excited when it comes to combat. this fight is actually showing how Duragon's finally letting loose. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's the villain, this is like probably like one of the first times he's actually having legit fun. Especially for someone who's so serious and so bent on revenge against, you know, a hospital, right? And trying to, and basically trying to rule the world, you know, world domination. And I'm gonna get to why he's doing that in the first place. And people normally would have thought that, you know, he's just doing it because he's just a villain. Oh, there's a huge reason for why it is. It's somewhat simple for why he's doing it, but when you really get to the heart of the matter, you understand exactly why he does what he does. Okay, so I need to explain this. You know how in Kingdom Hearts series, where you use things like Trinity Limit with, you know, Sora and, you know, Donald Goofy, right? To gang up on your opponent, use like a special move, you know, to do more damage towards your opponent so you won't, you know, lose, right? Now here's the thing about Duragon.
You ready?
Now you see this right here. This is basically a mechanic you can use that's similar to the Trinity mechanic, right? So if Duragon was in Kingdom Hearts 4, and let's say you're using the Trinity limit for Sora to beat Duragon, that's not gonna work on him. He's literally made to counter a Trinity mechanic. This is why Duragon would be such a fun boss to fight against. And I need to say a few more things, like for instance, you know, people would normally say like Duragon, Mikado is basically a bad written character. So is Sephiroth. Look, I'm not being a Sephiroth hater because I also like Sephiroth, but I need to get this out the way that, you know, I'm saying there's some good stuff about Sephiroth, but even he's also somewhat of a bad written character, right? The only difference between Duragon and Sephiroth when it comes to being a bad written characters is that Sephiroth, obviously, he's just more popular. You know what I'm saying? He's got the longsword and he's got the drip with his, you know, jacket. That's really it. You know what I'm saying? And the silver hair, right? That's pretty much it. I know there's like a bunch of other stuff or other things you can get into. But this is just something I need to say when people want to bring up like Duragon being a bad written character. It's like, okay, there's some other characters out there, but they're obviously more popular, right? And they're like the character's more received, right? You know what I'm saying? And however, other than that, now I'm going to be getting into just a little bit more stuff. Kind of like what I was saying about, I was going to go back to what I was saying about Duragon in that one scene where Duragon basically was going to pay off Sion, right? And the reason why he would even do something like that is because of how detrimental an instrument like the replica Dominique that Duragon made. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it just goes into more of how he doesn't want to fight. He kind of does want to fight, but what I mean is he's not being, like I said, he's not being the typical villain just to be a villain, basically. Obviously, he has his own priorities, right? Now, you see this tattoo, right? It's a tattoo of a dragon. You know, obvious. But here's the thing. Why a character like Duragon has this on his back, right? And in Japan, when you have a tattoo, you're considered to basically be in a gang, right? So what this looks like is a Yakuza reference. And maybe it's not, but for a character like Duragon, it's just like, this character should have been a collaboration with the Yakuza series. And there's another reason why I'm bringing up the Yakuza series in the first place, because this, you know, this game right here, that Square Enix, Square Enix could literally, Square Enix, if you're listening, you could have literally made a new Bouncer game, right? Make a reboot, or, just new characters or whatever it is. And you could basically make this game almost similar to the Yakuza series. I mean, not the same formula, but as far as the flow of combat goes, make it an actual good game when it comes to how characters get hit or fall, kind of like in a Tekken game, that type of thing, fixing your combat mechanics. You would really have something here. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, how much potential this game has, especially if you made a remake of this game, right? Kind of like a Final Fantasy VII remake type of thing, especially with your graphics now, and with the acting and all that stuff, mechanics. For action RPG, this would be amazing. And I had to bring up the Yakuza series, especially when it comes to the tattoo on Duragon's back. This character seems like a boss that would even fit in the Yakuza series. Even like the what's it called? Like when you see like that purple aura around Duragon with some of his techniques, that looks similar to like the aura stuff that you see in the Yakuza game series with Kiryu, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Like, why aren't you getting on this? You know how amazing this game would be if you did something like this? Like, similar to the Yakuza series, with combos, with co-op, and all those things. Other than that, the last few things I'm going to talk about is Duragon and Kingdom Hearts 4, right? That I need to talk about. And it has to do with how Duragon fits with Kingdom Hearts 4 when it comes to, the premise of what Kingdom Hearts is about the heart, right? So now I'm going to finally get into it. So at the root of why Duragon does what he does, like why he killed Chaldea, why he was going so hard when it comes to revenge against the hospital that, didn't want to save his sister, because his sister died, and it was basically kind of like the hospital's fault for why she died in the first place, how they could have healed her, patched her up, but, it's kind of like, for whatever reason, they chose not to. It's kind of like the problem in society today. It's just like, no money. Like if you don't have money, like no one's gonna hit. Like we're not gonna heal you. But even without that, it's kind of like even volunteer work. It's just like how is it that you don't have anyone, right? At certain hours when people actually need help, right? So other than that, right? What I need to say, what's so important for a character like Duragon losing his only sister, Dominique, his only sibling, right? And this is his only family member. So, and this is going to tie into why this whole thing matters when it comes to Duragon being in Kingdom Hearts 4, because you see, Dominique was literally the only thing that Duragon had in the world. You know what I'm saying? Him and his sister were homeless. He had no parents, no other family members. It was just him and Dominique, right? So this is what I'm talking about, how this goes deeper into Duragon's character. And this is just like in real life. What I mean by that, I mean that when a person loses the only family member that they ever had, right, it does something to them. It changes them. You know what I'm saying? That person is more lonely than what you think they would be, right? In Duragon's case, characters like Duragon who takes things like this very seriously, which is why he held a grudge against the hospital that refused to help him and his sister. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Kingdom Hearts and the Heart, basically for a character like Duragon, you know, his sister, that was all he had. Basically without Dominique, he literally had nothing. To him, he had nothing. Even with all the money in the world, all the food or just about anything, or even the love or, whatever his master Wong was giving him, everything he got to experience, none of it meant anything without his sister. This is why this is why Duragon basically is so empty and why he was empty in the first place. Because there was literally nothing left. You know what I'm saying? He had nothing left but the memory of his sister. I said this is one of the main reasons why, Duragon is such a deep and in-depth character. You know what I'm saying? This character is almost like, Tony Stark or Batman, right? When it comes to being rich and how he uses money to make all these different devices and technology and stuff, right? But for his reasoning behind all the stuff he did, like I said, because he lost his sister. I don't mean to be repetitive, but you know what I'm saying? I'm sure you get the point, right? Because there are people in real life who, they're depressed or whatever the case may be because of, they don't have anything. To them, they have nothing left. You know what I'm saying? This is also kind of like the idea of, or not just the idea, but in real life how rich people have problems. And this is one of them. Kind of like similar to people who are philanthropists, right? All the money, all that money, right? And it does nothing for this character. And that's just like in real life for other people. And some of the few things I need to wrap up about Duragon Tsumeikato. You know how Sephiroth has a theme song, right? Yeah, he has one theme song. I mean, if you want to count two as far as like his remake of his soundtrack or three, Duragon legitly in one game had 4 theme songs for himself. 4. Think about that. Not 1, not 2, but 4 in one game, right? He didn't have a bunch of spin-offs and stuff to get a whole bunch of other themes for his character. He had 4. All wrapped in one game, bro. You know what I'm saying? Do you see how underrated this character is? And I need to say, I believe this is like the last bit. But, unlike Duragon, and when it comes to Sora, Sora and, Sora, Donald, Goofy, right? How it takes like a child and, a duck and a dog to beat, like they beat the organization. You know what I'm saying? This little kid and a dog and a duck, right? Beat the organization 13. But in the case of Sion Barzad, right? Duragon didn't just lose to some kid. We're talking about a teenager who's a bouncer, right? And the life of a bouncer is that you're a person that is, not only defending a bar, you know what I'm saying, or protecting people, you're protecting people, like, you're going up against people that have, you're dealing with people that have, like, things like knives and daggers, using illegal tools to fight you. That's the type of character we're talking about here. And a teenager at that who's almost at the mastery of Kenpo as well. Not to mention how even Duragon stated that he sees why his lackeys were having such a problem with Sion was because he knew Kenpo, right? They both learned from the same master, Master Wang, right? But here's the other thing, right? It's not just Sion that Duragon was fighting, right? Not just three characters. Not just Sion, who's a teenager who knows Kenpo and almost at mastery with Kenpo. He's also fighting a secret agent who is Ko, right? Ko Leifo is basically a character that's undercover. So he's got some expertise in martial arts and combat, right? And what about Volt Cougar? And I need to say, I believe this is like the last bit. But, unlike Duragon, and when it comes to Sora, and, sorry about that, Sora and, Sora, Donald, Goofy, right? How it takes, like, a child and, saying a duck and a dog to beat, like they beat the organization. You know what I'm saying? This little kid and a dog and a duck, right? Beat the organization 13. But in the case of Sion Barzad, right? Duragon didn't just lose to some kid. We're talking about a teenager who's a bouncer, right? And the life of a bouncer is that you're a person that is, not only defending a bar, you know what I'm saying, or protecting people, you're protecting people, like, you know what I'm saying, you're going up against people that have, you're dealing with people that have, like, things like knives and daggers, you know what I'm saying, using illegal tools to fight you. That's the type of character we're talking about here. And a teenager at that who's almost at the mastery of Kenpo as well. Not to mention how even Duragon stated that he sees why his, lackeys were having such a problem with Sion was because he knew Kenpo, right? They both learned from the same master, Master Wang, right? But here's the other thing, right? It's not just Sion that Duragon was fighting, right? Not just three characters. Not just Sion, who's a teenager who knows Kenpo and almost at mastery with Kenpo. He's also fighting a secret agent who is Ko, right? Ko Leifo is basically a character that's undercover. So he's got some expertise in martial arts and combat, right? And what about Volt Cougar? Now, the thing about Volt is, obviously, he knows martial arts, obviously, when it comes to grappling styles, right? However, it's not just that. Volt is someone who used to work for Duragon. So, more than likely, he's already seen how Duragon fights. And probably, my theory is that he was giving a few cues to, Sion Barzad about, certain openings that Duragon had. You know what I'm saying? And in terms of combat, that he knew exactly when and what time to attack Duragon and from what angles. You know what I'm saying? Because he has that expertise. And, you know what I'm saying? You really think about this. A character that worked for Duragon fighting him, and then Sion, who's almost mastery at Kenpo, then Ko, who's an undercover agent, right? It's like all these things for these characters. It's like no wonder why a character like Duragon would even lose, right? And on top of that, Duragon was probably exhausted from all the work and coordinates he was putting into his computer. You know what I'm saying? All of his plans and stuff, probably under pressure. He was more than likely dealing with a bunch of stuff, and not just, physical combat, but in the battle of the mind. He's probably going through a bunch of stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? Now that I'm done with that, Square Enix, if you are listening, I really do hope you actually, not just make a remake like with Final Fantasy 7 for the bouncer, but also put, a new version of the bouncer on the from the PS2 ported onto the PS5, and fix some of the mechanics that fans of this game really wanted and how this game desperately needs. We like the ragdoll physics, but some of the other stuff, like for the combat, hopefully you fix it, and maybe some of the balancing issues, like with the life bars and stuff like that, for all the characters. But yeah, and I have to tell you that even not just for you, Square Enix, but you other people that are watching this, one of the main reasons why we like this game so much is because there really isn't a game like it when it comes to co-op. Well, except for games like Urban Reign, but that should definitely be on the PlayStation as well. But for this particular game, this is just a fun co-op party game. This game needs to be on the PS5 right now with full online capabilities. This game is just too good. I hope you actually work on this game, Square Enix. It's too good and too underrated. So with that, this is Huntsman9. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. God bless you, and I'm out.